What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Hope you guys are doing well as we motor on into the weekend here. And we're motoring on into the weekend with a couple of Seattle Seahawks news updates. I know this stuff came down a pretty good amount earlier today. I think this came out like late in the morning or early in the afternoon. I didn't have a chance to make a video about this until now, though. So let's go ahead and just cover the two primary topics of the day. First, this one's, I would go so far as to call this a little bit surprising, and depending on your perspective, maybe a little bit alarming. But nevertheless, it is something that looks like is happening, so we should at least be aware of it. Per Mike Garofalo on X, Grant Udinski is getting a second interview with the Seattle Seahawks. Apparently, he already had it, actually. According to this tweet, which was earlier today, he'll interview with the team in person today after conducting a virtual interview earlier this week. So, clearly the first interview went well. Now, he's not the only guy to get a second interview, and my understanding is that Clint Kubiak is still considered to be the favorite. But regardless, Udinski did something right in that initial interview to earn another one, clearly. And maybe this is as simple as they want to have him as a passing game coordinator candidate when they hire their OC. Maybe they're not even looking at him as a real OC. They just want to have the ability to interview him and then allow him to make a choice when the time comes for them to maybe offer him that job. But yeah, he's getting a second interview, and on the face of it, on the surface of it, it is as the offensive coordinator. So my position on this one has not really changed. It's just too risky for me. I'm sure he's very smart. I'm sure he's doing something right, and I'm sure that he did something genuine to impress the Seahawks front office decision makers. But it, from my perspective, and here's what I always say about coaches: understand, there are probably over 100 hours a week of work for most NFL coaches. These guys are probably putting in 100 hours of work a week during the season, especially. And we as fans get to see very little of it, so we don't know who's really doing the best work. All we see are 3 hours a week on Sunday. So it's hard. But from the perspective that I have, it's hard to see this guy as a particularly serious offensive coordinator. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. That doesn't mean he's not. That just means that's what I think. And what I think comes from a limited pool of information. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we had this from Jonathan Jones earlier today. A fifth person has entered the ring publicly. A fifth offensive coordinator candidate has been interviewed. And it's Byron Leftwich. This is a pretty interesting one. Byron Leftwich was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a few years there when they had Brady under Bruce Arians. I believe that he was let go after 2022, which was the year where Brady ultimately kind of regressed into being a pretty lackluster quarterback and ultimately retired after that season. So the team moved on from Leftwich at that point. They brought in Canales as the OC, and it did seem like Canales did a little bit better than Leftwich was doing. I think a lot of people reasonably conclude that Leftwich was not really the big shaker and mover in that Tampa Bay offense at the time. That was Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. But it is a hire that would have some merit. Byron Leftwich does have some play calling experience in this league. He's a Super Bowl champion, right? He won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator in 2020. So there's some boxes that are checked here. I think the fact that Leftwich has been out of football for 2 years, I think the fact that he hasn't been able to get any kind of a job in football since 2022 is a little bit concerning. Maybe that was his choice. Maybe he just wanted to wait for the right opportunity. Who knows? He did actually interview for a head coaching job earlier this month as well, which is interesting. That would be quite a jump to go from 2 years unemployed to a head coaching job with the Patriots. would have been interesting. Would have been, I would go so far as to say, an indicator that the Patriots couldn't find anybody they actually wanted. But the fact that he even got in the building at all as an interviewee does kind of indicate there's respect and people think highly of this guy. So we're going to have to talk about Leftwich's coaching experience at length in the near future. He checks some boxes, man. He has play calling experience. He won a Super Bowl as a coach. He was an offensive coordinator for some really good offenses in Tampa Bay during the Brady years. It's just a question of how much of it was Brady, how much of it was Arians, and how much of it was Leftwich. So, interesting thought, interesting consideration. But that is the only new name we have interjected into this conversation as of right now. So, everything that I've heard indicates that Clint Kubiak is still the favorite. So, I'm not moving off of that. But things can change quickly. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I think that's really about all there is to say. I doubt we'll hear that much over the weekend. If we do, I'll make videos about it, of course. But in all likelihood, we're just going to be using these last several days to go through the final candidates. And hopefully, before we get to the end of the list, we get a hire. So don't expect to hear a lot this weekend necessarily. I imagine that the team is also going to be taking some time to think about things, maybe schedule some new interviews. If the Rams lose, maybe they bring in LaFleur for a shot. If a team like not the Texans. I was going to say Slowick, but you can't really interview Slowick. He's already got play calling in Houston. Why would he want to leave? But maybe you can get somebody further down the line in a team like Houston if Houston does indeed lose. If a team like Washington loses, do you maybe take a shot with somebody from their staff? There's a couple of interesting guys on that staff, and Dan Quinn does have a pretty good track record. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now, guys. So Byron Leftwich enters the fray. Interesting name, probably not going to be one of my favorites, but there are some things that are appealing for sure. And Udinski's getting a second interview, so he impressed people. And there's a scenario where he just does so unbelievably good in his interview that the team decides, you know what, we can't say no. We know teams are going to laugh at us. We know teams are going to look at that and go, hey, that's a team that can't hire anybody good, so they're hiring kids. They're hiring coaches that are significantly younger than some of the players they're going to be coaching. But I guess it's a potential scenario, right? All right. I will be on Twitch later tonight, probably doing American Truck Simulator, so come hang out if that sounds like fun to you. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll do some more offensive coordinator profiles tomorrow. Everyone have a good rest of your day.